And this is the problem within banking. The banking galaxy is inhibiting people's ability to do anything small because the galaxy is huge. And if you want to do a small change, it still takes you a long time to do it. Hey folks, it's David Brear from 11FS. I am going to do a little bit of a video today to talk to you about something. I know before I've talked to you about the banking battlefield, but today what I'm going to do is talk to you about something that I've been referring to as the banking galaxy for a couple of years now. I'll start with just a kind of a point is, I mean, many of the banks over the last 10 years since the financial crisis have got a bit of a kicking. And actually, you know, banking as a term has become quite a negative one. But I think it's quite unfair in many instances. If we sort of have a little bit of a look at where the banks are themselves, you know, these guys sort of oscillate around a central point, and that usually is the reg system. So when it comes to the regulatory system actually in the UK, we're actually pretty blessed, if I'm honest with you. The FCA, the PRA, the Bank of England, everything that has been done actually allows these organizations, these banking organizations, to sort of gravitate in a sort of an ecosystem galaxy sense around those regulators. And that works pretty effectively. The regulators work closely with the banks to ensure that they're actually promoting and creating competition, as well as treating customers both consistently and fairly in terms of the things that they want to do. Now, if you kind of look a lot broader than that, actually beyond that, when the banks really want to sort of do anything, there is this layer around them, which is the research houses. Now, these are the guys who many players will go to understand what it is that they need to do. You'll know many of the players in this space. They're the people who do lots of lovely PDFs to kind of show people what trends are happening in the market and actually what types of things that need to be actually sort of pursued. Now, beyond that, when the banks actually want to do something, well, then they actually have to take all of that information and synthesize it into a strategy, right? So the management consultant layer that sits beyond that, these are the guys who basically take the information, take the levers and the understanding of actually what's happening in the market, and then start creating a strategy for that organization to move forwards. Beyond this, we start getting the consulting layer, which actually gives them the ability to put BAs, PMs, people on the ground to actually deliver against these things. And beyond that, even further, you start to get the offshore organizations that actually allow procurement teams to start feeling comfortable that actually the engineers that they're procuring are being procured at the acceptable rate that is allowed within that organization. Now, even further out there, you start to get the tech firms. And this is not tech firms like the you would expect within an architectural diagram, but more the really big technology players that actually create and outsource the systems that many of these big organizations work in. Now, this is sort of what I describe to people as the galaxy of kind of banking. Because if a bank decides to do a thing, arguably they then need to go and understand what the market is doing. They need to have a management consultancy organization come in and do the strategy. They then need to hire one or many consultancy companies to actually try and put that strategy in place. And then actually it will come to an ongoing program of actually outsourcing either to tech firms or offshoring organizations. Now, this is the problem that's really sort of happened over the last 10 years, let's say, within banking. This galaxy has got very sort of muddled. And while since the financial crisis, many of these players within the banking space has been really sort of lambasted for their lack of innovation and lack of speed of change, definitely in a real purposeful direction, then really when we say banking isn't working, what we're saying is not just that the banks don't work, but fundamentally every layer within this galaxy is showing problems. And in all honesty, this diagram was the purpose in which we started 11FS in the first place. Because at the same time as the entirety of this change was happening in the industry, and each of these layers of the galaxy was really being cemented, this was the same period of time where Agile really took off in a major way. I mean, if you kind of look at the basics of kind of how Agile really sort of functions, if you plan to do something, you go and do it. You will then, learn off the back of the things that you've done, and then you will reflect. And actually, if you get to the point where you've done these things efficiently, then actually this cycle is a flywheel for success within your organization. You can plan efficiently, you can do rapidly, you can learn what it actually means for you and your consumer, reflect on this in terms of how it changes your behavior on an ongoing basis, and then this wheel becomes an effective wheel for really driving forward your organization. So Agile as a methodology has took off in such a major way. It's why small organizations like fintech players have been able to come into this space and actually have so much impact, because both deploying Agile in a real way and the commoditized elements of technology that actually allowed this to happen is really all that it's happening. Now, the problem that this kind of brings up, though, is that in a small organization like a startup, you can plan, you can do, you can learn, you can reflect and continue that cycle in hours, possibly days, if it's something really significant. I mean, Monzo is famed for 60 to 100 deployments to a day to live, as well as the ability to go from a good idea to being live in market with millions of customers in 3 to 4 weeks. Now, this works because they have incredible experts across all of the different points of this Agile method. But actually, when it comes back to this big organization view with the banking galaxy, well, if actually to plan it requires me to actually brief a research house and get a management consultancy to define what a strategy would be, and at that point, actually, in order to do it, we need to get in possibly a consultancy division and an offshoring division before we even get to having this live in the market, then this thing that might take 3 to 5 weeks suddenly takes maybe 2 to 3 years, and this thing that used to cost maybe £15,000 to £20,000 to get something live is then a major scale digital transformation program to actually enact these things. And this is the problem within banking. The banking galaxy is inhibiting people's ability to do anything small, because the galaxy is huge, and if you want to do a small change, it still takes you a long time to do it. Hopefully that was helpful.